Imagine the life of a Victorian servant. Elegant uniforms, polished silver, and the quiet hum of a well-oiled machine operating in the background of a grand estate. A world of crisp order and gentle deference. This was the fiction. This was the reality. For nearly 75% of the British population in the 19th century, domestic service was not a picturesque drama. It was a life of relentless, back-breaking labor, military discipline, and social invisibility. So, what did a servant in a Victorian household actually do, from the moment they woke to the moment they collapsed into bed? When we speak of Victorian servants, we're referring to a vast and rigidly stratified workforce that powered the homes of the middle and upper classes from roughly 1837 to 1901. This wasn't a monolithic experience. The day of a lowly scullery maid in a modest townhouse was worlds apart from that of a senior butler in a duke's country mansion. The number of servants a household employed was the ultimate status symbol. A lower middle-class family might have a single maid-of-all-work, responsible for every single task. An aristocratic estate could employ a staff of 50 or more, each with a hyper-specific role governed by an unspoken code of conduct more complex than any corporate handbook. Our understanding of their daily grind comes from a wealth of evidence. Personal diaries that survived, often written in secret. Strict household manuals penned by wealthy mistresses. Census records, and the physical archaeology of surviving servant quarters, which reveal cramped, sparse, and often damp living conditions. To understand this world, let's follow a single day in the life of one of the most common yet grueling positions, the housemaid. We'll focus on a middle-upper-class household with a staff of about 10. Her day begins not with the sun, but hours before it. Around 4:45 in the morning, she rises from a narrow bed in a cold attic room she likely shares with one or two other maids. There is no central heating, no running water. Her first task is to get dressed in her strict uniform, a stark, stuffy dress, thick stockings, and a rough apron. And then she must immediately get to work while the family still sleeps. Her first and most critical duty, the fires. Every fireplace in the main living areas, the drawing room, the dining room, the master's study, needs to be cleaned of yesterday's ash, laid with new kindling and coal, and lit. This was a dusty, dirty job. The fires must be burning brightly by the time the family begins to stir. By 6:30, she's on to downstairs chores. Sweeping and scrubbing the main entrance hall and front steps, a job that had to be done before the master might see a speck of dirt. Then she'd begin the endless cycle of cleaning. This was before vacuum cleaners. Rugs were taken outside and beaten with a wicker beater. Floors were scrubbed on hands and knees with a brush and a bucket of harsh, homemade soap. After the rough cleaning, the detailed work began. Dusting every single surface, ornament, and piece of furniture. This wasn't a quick wipe. It was a meticulous process where a single missed spot could mean a deduction from her already meager wages. Around 8 o'clock, the family would breakfast. The maids would help serve, but were never to be seen unless necessary. They stood silently against the wall, ready to fulfill any request. Once the family was finished, the maid's own breakfast was taken in the basement kitchen, often just bread, porridge, and perhaps a cup of tea. They had maybe 20 minutes to eat. The entire morning continued like this, making beds with heavy mattresses, carrying jugs of hot water up countless flights of stairs for the family to wash, cleaning the chambers, and emptying chamber pots, a vile but necessary task long before indoor plumbing was standard. The afternoon might offer a slight reprieve. While the family lunched and then often went out for walks or visits, The maids would tackle quieter tasks, mending linens, sewing, polishing silver, or preparing the bedrooms for the evening. This was also the time for their main meal of the day, usually a stew or meat and potatoes. As evening approached, the pace quickened again. The fires had to be rebuilt and stoked for the night. The gas lamps or candles had to be lit throughout the house, a dangerous and time-consuming job. The mistress's dress for dinner had to be laid out, often requiring intricate assistance. The pinnacle of the day's formality, dinner. For the senior staff, like the butler and footmen, this was their main performance. For the housemaid, it meant more waiting, more serving, and more cleaning up afterwards. It was not uncommon for dinner service to last 2 hours or more. Only after the family had fully retired for the night could the servants think of their own rest. There was still work, putting out fires, ensuring doors were locked, and doing a final tidy. A housemaid might finally get to her room around 10 or 11 p.m., only to face the same grueling routine in just a few hours. She might have one half-day off a month and perhaps a Sunday afternoon to attend church. But their existence wasn't just labor. It was a complete social system. Servants lived in a state of constant hypervisibility to the family and near total invisibility to the outside world. Rules were absolute. No personal conversations above a whisper. No sitting down in the main house. Strict curfews. Forbidden from having any personal life that might interfere with duty. Their world was the below-stairs basement and the attic bedrooms, connected by hidden staircases and secret passages designed to keep them out of sight. Yet within this rigid hierarchy, a complex community thrived. Alliances were formed. Gossip was a prized currency. Small rebellions occurred, a stolen moment, a secret letter. The technological innovations of the era, like the bellboard system that summoned them with a different ring for each room, turned them into human algorithms, responding to the demands of the machine that was the Victorian home. The First World War would finally shatter this system, offering women new opportunities in factories and offices. But for the better part of a century, this was the reality for millions. So what did a Victorian servant actually do all day? They performed a relentless symphony of physical labor that made modern comfort possible for the few. They navigated a brutal social hierarchy with little hope of advancement. They traded their freedom, their time, and their bodies for meager security. They were the human engine of the Industrial Revolution's home front, living a life of contradiction, essential yet invisible, skilled yet deemed unskilled, and perpetually in the background of their own lives. The next time you see a romanticized version of a servant on screen, remember not just the polished silver, but the hands that scrubbed it raw. Not just the elegant gown, but the maid who spent hours pressing it. Not just the warm, lit room, but the girl who rose in the dark to make it so.